Good afternoon, my name is Kirsty Dignam and I'm here to look at the weekly energies for today's Monday's Musings. And I'm just trying to get a load of pop-offs, that's what I wanted to say, pop-ups off my screen and to turn the volume up. To remove the distractions, to speak clearly, to really hear what it is we are saying, how we are conversing with ourselves, with each other and with the universe at large. My whole tooth just sunk into a gap. No, my whole tongue just sunk into a gap in between my teeth. Years ago, when I was a teenager, I had extra canine teeth. So I had my two canine teeth here and two canine teeth behind them, the top and the bottom. So I had a very vampire effect to my teeth in my mouth, and they crossed over slightly at the front. That wasn't a big thing. But at the time, everyone was wearing braces and I wanted in on that. I wanted to belong. I wanted to have teeth that were a certain way and, to fit in and to have these braces put in and be the same as everybody else. And fast forward 20, 30 plus years down the line, and it's become this trend to have these, certain shaped teeth, and, having those teeth removed has left gaps, and it's changed the structure of my mouth, and it's changed the solidity of it all. And the reason I'm sharing that, unbeknown to me now, is one, to go with what you get this week for the relevance that it is, but also to really look at the impact that has come from a desire to fit in. And I really feel like I've been banging my drum about this over and over and over, and I really felt like in myself personally the medicine of this had been starting to really sink in, but then I don't think it ever does. And this week, having a bit of compassion with ourselves, because that aches in my back, like carrying a heavy load of, oh God, I'm just never going to get through this. But knowing that the lessons that we're here to learn are the ones we're here to learn, and we will continue to learn them all the time that we're here. And when we're not here, hopefully we've discovered all that we needed to discover from them, and to have a bit more fun and curiosity, so that when they turn up, we can go, aha, I know you. Let's do this in a different, more fun way. Then let's see what else is to be found here. To have more compassion with ourselves on that, but also to recognize, particularly as we go into the winter months, that time of hibernation, really feeling into those penny drop moments. So today I really sensed, we've gone from quite a warm autumn to all of a sudden it being freezing. Like that temperature has just dropped. Everything's suddenly gone quite cold, and when it goes cold, we have to wrap ourselves up. We need to go in more. We need to take care of ourselves more. We can feel quite shut off from things. We can feel quite unsafe when it's cold, because to be warm is a survival instinct. It's a basic need, and that's in how we relate to each other, how we relate to ourselves, and where we're actually at and what we actually need this week. The temperature, the penny, those moments, they're going to drop. They're going to be a lot clearer as we go into the next fortnight towards the lunar eclipse. With the solar eclipse, it was our actions, our masculine, that was being shadowed, to really have an opportunity to gain insight from. And as we head into the lunar eclipse, it's our emotions behind it. And whether or not they are in alignment, whether or not we are as centered and connected to where we think we are in the next few weeks. And I feel quite excited with that, actually. I feel as if it could really bring some penny dropping aha moments that we've almost been searching for, like, oh God, wow, okay, the missing piece. Pun on words there, but the missing piece, what we've been looking for. But first, realising what we haven't been able to see. How? By really embodying the medicine. Lots of reallys there. By embodying the medicine. Oh, having some humour with it as well. But embodying, I was going to say really again, embodying the medicine that is trying to come through, that we claim to have acknowledged, that has been guiding us all along. So this weekend, after a wonderful, wonderful day with the Moon Aiki, as I taught a second workshop, the second module, as we moved into the East, as we moved into the space of new beginnings and dreams, and really brought in the energy of the archetypes that we're working with and the elements, and opened our heart to the first 3 foundational rites, rebuilding that structure after everything has been pulled down. After that glorious day, I went to Monkey World the following day. And the reason I went to Monkey World is the monkey is a totem I've been gifted as part of a course that I'm doing. For me, it's one thing to read into signs. For me, it's one thing to look up what something might mean. For my own learning, I like to take it to the next level, and I like to be around those energies, to sense them, to taste them, to feel them, to embody them, to ingest them, to become them, to attune to them, just like we would with Reiki or angelic healing, or tuning forks. We're attuning to the energy that we are deciding to connect to in order to fully receive what it is we might need, particularly this week. So I went to Monkey World. I went to Monkey World to really feel into these incredible animals, these incredible souls, and whatever lessons they may have for me. And I didn't realise it was a rescue centre. So as soon as I got there, I felt quite overwhelmed with sadness and anger at these souls being, for what I had seen, trapped. Well, they'd actually been rescued, and reading their stories opened up an awareness of what was actually going on in front of me. And that's really going to be pivotal this week, if we can really look into our stories and the stories being played out with a more expanded awareness beyond our own judgments. There's going to be a much richer experience to be had there. And there were many, many messages from taking things slow. I watched one orangutan eat a cucumber as if it was the first time it had eaten that cucumber. And I don't mean from the first bite, I mean every savoured mouthful. Regardless of the amount of visitors around her, regardless of the attention that was being projected onto her, and people being so aware of where she'd been and what she'd gone through, she focused on what was in front of her and did so with pleasure and enjoyment and presence. She sustained her needs by fully being in them, taking responsibility for them, not in the getting of the food, but in what she decided to consume and how. And that's really going to be quite pivotal for us all over the next few months. What are we digesting? Being responsible for that. How are we digesting it? Are we flipping up on social media and getting distracted? I did this morning, but it was part of the process before I felt ready to do this video. Are we slowing things down and enjoying the simple things in life? We're going into winter. It's that time of hibernation, that time of reflection, and that doesn't always have to take tragedy to do that. It's like the journey to the dark goddess, the journey to the dark night of the soul. It doesn't always have to come with tragedy or loss, or the tower moment. We're in the tower year, and the tower moment doesn't always have to be a shock. It doesn't. We can feel into the crumbling away of old stories. We can feel into the loosening up of what once was in our emotions. We can be more aware of what is actually changing within and around us. It doesn't have to be a shock. Sometimes it just is. Sometimes we're caught up in things, or it can be a real bolt out of the blue. But for the most part, we can be aware of what's going on. We can choose to look at what we are digesting, how we are digesting it, and really taking our time with that. I'm going to say appreciating the journey, because that is the aha moment that many of us are actually searching for. We can get so caught up, and again, we know this, but with the eclipses, it's coming around for another level of understanding. we can get really caught up in the outcome of what we're looking for and really not enjoy, appreciate, experience, embody the steps in between in a practical, physical way. And what the monkeys actually showed me yesterday was, regardless of the environment, you know, many of them are gone from laboratory settings, small cages, to a far more open enclosure, but in their mind they were still in a small space. And it makes me quite emotional to think back to that young monkey that was running round and round and round in an obsessive manner, because in their mind they were still traumatized in a very small space. There were incredible souls there that had actually been attacked by their own pack, their own people, their own tribe, had limbs ripped from them, but adapted from that attack, adapted and actually excelled. There were creatures that would pose for pictures that had been so used to that in their other environments for entertainment purposes, that despite the situations they found themselves in changing, their behaviour was the same. And then I came to the end of the sanctuary. I had to really think about what it actually was then, the sanctuary. And there were chimps that were so like man that even now my brain is trying to compute, it's the first time I've seen monkeys up close, first time I've ever really been that connected, actually. And that's the beauty of embodying the lessons. That's the beauty of seeking beyond what we know up here and saying, okay, I want to feel this, I want to experience this, I want to taste this, I want to really dive into the medicine that could be available from this. I want to savor what is going on here. When I got to the end of the tour, at the end of the sanctuary, I came face to face with my ancestor, the chimp, and the similarities, even now, I find quite shocking. There, you know, what is the difference between that creature in captivity, albeit a rescue centre, and albeit much better than where they were and safer or whatever, to me being there and a more so-called perceived evolved species watching me. There was a real, you know, Planet of the Apes type whoa moment for me there, as I watched these creatures eat their own feces. And obviously I won't share too much on that, but there was an underlying message here of feeding from the same shit. Believing that that's where we get our nutrients from. Regardless of the environment we were in, the same behaviours being so deeply ingrained within us. And the promise of a safe space to be able to explore them, to be held, to allow them just to play out, allow them to do what they need to do and naturally shift. So on the way home from Monkey World, with all of these insights, you know, being open, quite raw to all of this, feeling quite confused, quite all over the place actually, having the beautiful energy from the Moon Eye Key. Incredibly frustrating day Friday, having to put my foot down with how I was being treated in certain establishments based on how I looked. On the Saturday, receiving beautiful rites of passage with the power of love. On the Sunday, really feeding into the totem that was guiding me through all of this, and the recognition of how much work there still was to be done with compassion. Coming home, it was just like, what's the closing point for this? What's going to move me forward for this? And we passed a motorhome forecourt. And out of curiosity, I suggested to my husband that we go and have a look, because it's always been something we've considered, a way of life. I always knew I would find a place to work from, a piece of land, or, you know, the next step by travelling in a motorhome. And it was always a holiday that we wanted to do for our ancestors, actually, to travel the whole of the UK for our grandfather, who always wanted to do it and never managed to do it. And we haven't managed to do it so far. I pulled into the motorhome forecourt, and the reason I pulled into there is because I've been trying to manifest, trying to create certain things without actually physically being aware of what that would be like, and it has almost felt too vast a potential. And I share that now because of where we are. I share that now because of collectively some of the almost backwards motions that are occurring to really bring up where we feel out of alignment with what it is we're trying to bring forth, and how we can bridge that by physically experiencing it. Standing inside of a motorhome, it all felt so real. I still don't know how we're going to do it, and I still don't know where it's going to lead to, but I know that it's the middle step now between where I am and being in a field and doing whatever I'm doing in the field. I'd forgotten the middle step, and I'd forgotten the middle step, one, because I become so consumed with the end result. And we can all use this in relation to what it is we're trying to manifest. So consumed with the end result, I'd forgotten the practical steps in between. And the reason I'd forgotten the practical steps in between is because I hadn't experienced them. I didn't know what they felt like. I didn't know what they felt like. So much as the universe has been sending me over the last 10 years, millions, well not millions, but a lot of people that want the same dreams to remind me to keep going, I haven't been consciously enough aware of the steps that I needed to take in order to get to them. I now have everything that I will be doing when I get to that end result, but I haven't been paying enough attention. And that makes me feel quite emotional to the bridge that's going to get me there. Not just the motorhome, but the sheer fact that I need to physically embody what it is I'm trying to manifest. And if that feels too far out there, I need to find a way to do that. So this week, whether it's peace for the world, whether it's the ideal relationship, whether it's whatever it may be that is being called for you to create, do you know what that would even feel like physically? Is there a way that you can experience that? Is there, if it's peace, how can you experience peace yourself? If it's a relationship that feels safe, how can you get that in your life? How can you provide that for yourself? Really bringing it back to the basics this week is going to be key. In particular, over the next 2 weeks, there's going to be a lot of clarity where our emotions may have not grown enough to conceive what it is we are trying to deliver, but where there is great potential for that growth. By bringing them all into alignment, our thoughts, our spirit, our drive, our feelings, our physical actions, by really bringing them all into one place within us. It's one thing to believe in our potential, whether it's individually or collectively, but when we are bombarded, and I will say bombarded, by alternative views of that to almost help support our shadows and doubts, sometimes it can be really beneficial, especially in the winter months, to take a step back and go, is this helping me believe in myself? Is this helping me believe in myself? Is this helping me restore the old narrative? We are in the Tower year. We have a few months left of the Tower year, and part of the beauty of the Tower card with the Chariot's energy is to make sure what we build is different, including the energy we use behind it, like the mortar of the bricks, the spirit, the drive, the emotions behind it. Because if the foundations of what we are building haven't changed, nothing is going to shift. And yes, we will continually have these Tower moments. So with that in mind, is there anything else? Timing is going to be everything. particularly as we go into next year. But at the moment, over the next few weeks, timing is going to be everything. And we've got that Halloween Samhain veil coming up, which timing kind of just chucks itself out the window. For me, it's like walking around in a bit of a void of matrix type time, but timing is everything. Where am I going with that? I almost forgot, and that can be the potential this week when we get too caught up in trying to understand when things are going to happen. When it feels right, that is the timing, when it feels right. So this morning, I knew I had to do this video. Not had to, wanted to do this video, which is important to define as the days go on. Do we have to? Do we want to? What is the difference? Is there a difference? How many times do we see things as chores when actually underneath it all we want to do it? But it's like, we haven't taken time for self-care, or, we've let things pile up, or we have judgments on it. I love cleaning. I have obsessive compulsive disorder, which is so much better than it was. And it's not an obvious external one now, it's more internal. But I still love cleaning. It makes me feel good. I have a sanctuary. My house is chilled. Everything feels in place. And from there, I can really build on structure, on, knowing that all that is sorted so I can give my all to what it is I'm then doing, including this video. And this week, it's really quite important to recognize, is it a chore? Or is it just our view of it that has made it become a chore? How can we fall back in love with the very things that we actually enjoy doing? This video. This morning, yes, my mind was like, you haven't done the video. I wasn't feeling it. I will not force my connection to work, to relationships, to source, to guidance because I have a deadline to do a video. I've always been that way, whether it's midwifery, whether it's my marriage, whether it's my family, whether it's myself. For the most part, I will try not to. Why? Not because I'm a saint, not because I'm more blessed than anyone else and I have the time to do it, but because I know efficiency-wise, the more I try and force, the more I'm doing this on my own, the more I'm doing this from a place of ego. There's no judgment there, but that's the truth. It's more mental. It's more one element based. So either it's just my emotions driving it or just my mind driving it. And there's nothing against that. But when they work together, it's quicker. When we work together collectively, it's quicker. When you're in a relationship and you're trying to achieve the same outcome, working together, it's quicker. When you're working with your shadow, it's quicker. When you're working with your higher self, it's quicker. Taking time to really feel into that is going to be more efficient. It's going to get things done quicker. So that brings me on to the last thing I'm going to talk about before I will do the cards, and I will do them briefly. Self-care. Care of the self, recognizing the self, recognizing the importance of the self. And I don't mean just as an external treat. That's a great start. I don't mean just because your health has become bad and, if you don't, you're going to go back to that and, an emergency process, if you will. That's the end game. So it's that middle ground between it. Recognizing this week that self-care is a way of being. It's a way of being, and it's essential to everything you do and everything that you are. And it can be going for a walk. It can be having a moment with a cup of tea and a breath and a pause. It can be allowing your mind to have those negative thoughts without your judgment so you can hold space for them and let them go. Observing them, witnessing them. It can be stepping back from everything that is occurring around you because it's too much. Recognizing that all the time it's too much. That's the energy you're putting into that situation. Stepping back from it. Self-care is literally reconnecting you to yourself in whatever shape that takes. And it is pivotal. As we go into next year, it is the essence behind the Strength card. It is the promise behind divine timing and divine connection, and the recognition of the feminine, the deeper physical applicable recognition of the feminine, knowing that the feminine is the physical body. It is the physical body. It is the lower, denser, more 3D aspects of life. That is also the feminine. And to deny that is still denying the feminine. We can get so caught up in this is happening to the feminine, that is happening to the feminine, you know, it's being repressed. Okay, how well do you listen to your emotions? I feel like I'm really going on a tangent here, but how well do you listen to your body? That's the feminine also. Really, really looking at that this week so that self-care becomes a way of being. It is an essential part of who you are. Self-care is who you are, and it is our responsibility individually first to align with that, and then collectively, so that when we see people putting themselves in traumatic situations, if they ask for our help from a place of being centered, we can provide that, rather than providing from a place of lack, which is going to build lack, or a place of fear, which is going to build fear, a place of anger, which is going to build anger. Again, no real judgment there, but just recognizing where you are in regards to your own self-care. So for me this morning, to share a video when I wasn't 100% sure if I wanted to, wasn't 100% sure if I had anything to share, wasn't 100% sure if I was in the right mood, vibe, energy, and was definitely not connected to witnessing what was going on. Yes, I'm going to say it would have been irresponsible of me. And this week we're being really asked to look at that, at our own responsibility and where we're acting from or reacting from. Okay, so with that in mind, oh gosh, my whole screen's just got a really funny colour. Hold on. Wow. I wonder if that will show up on the video. That would be really interesting to see. It just all went negative. My whole screen just had the whole negative effect. My computer is on its way out. I am going to have to get a new one. But with that in mind, let's look at the energies for this week. And I am going to do a brief look into them with the Light Seers Tarot by Chris Ann Donnelly. Beautiful, beautiful tarot. And I love these. One, sacred creators. To recognize that you are the sacred creators. A journey of shadows and sunshine. And I want to read what Chris Ann's put inside. And into the grey we follow like 1,000 flickering stars, and there in a sunlit hollow we lose and find what is ours. Dear light and shadow seer, light and shadow seer, the ability to see the light and the darkness. May this deck help you to find what is yours. Only then, right? Only then will we truly get what is ours, if we can see it all. So I'm going to have a quick and I finished that, which is interesting. I finished what was in that cup. Okay, energies for this week, and we're going to do a day-by-day basis. How to best navigate them. I can hear the Neil Armstrong thing, you know, the one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. I apologise if I've really ad-libbed a load extra to that, but recognising the small steps this week, seeing their place in the larger steps. You know, sometimes, particularly with everything that is going on, I know I've felt it the last few weeks, being at peace doesn't feel enough. It doesn't feel enough. We're not doing enough. You know, we need to do more. And then what? You're suddenly not in peace, right? You're suddenly coming from a place of fear, and that's one more person that's not at peace, just adding to the lack of peace. So the Lovers card is falling out, and this week it is all about choice. Okay, so we did have the solar eclipse, which, as I say, was the masculine being shadowed, and we are leading into the feminine being shadowed here. Now we can look at them being shadowed, or we can look at them as being protected, danced with, taking the spotlight, standing back and allowing other energies to do that. how comfortable do we feel with that? How comfortable do we feel with watching something occur, or, you know, watching someone go into center stage and do what they need to do if it's against how we believe or what we think or what we feel? Are we comfortable to sit back and just witness everything unfolding? Or are we going to jump in and overshadow? If so, where is that coming from this week? Okay, so I've acknowledged a lot of my own limitations, and that boils it all down, doesn't it? When we do that, we acknowledge our own limitations, and that can be really uncomfortable, really, really uncomfortable, so vulnerable and so beautiful, so beautiful. You know, this week I've had to acknowledge, or I've decided, chosen, embraced the limitations that I have in my current situation. And as a result, it means taking a back step with some things. And that's hard because I'm a control freak. I'm obsessive. While I've got some control over everything, then yes, all is well. And that comes from a beautiful place, and also comes from a place of believing I know better than anyone else or those people in that situation. And this week is okay. Recognize that. Recognize where it's coming from a beautiful place, and recognize where you're being a twat. It's just as beautiful. Really humbly embracing that, laughing at ourselves, okay? Really looking at what's going on. It's okay. It's okay to see these other sides. So we have the Knight of Cups at the bottom of the pack. And the reason I'm sharing this is the Knight of Cups in the tarot is the archetype that represents the Grail, the Holy Grail, the embracing of the feminine, particularly with the masculine. But that doesn't mean gender, that means in our actions. And yeah, I'm an independent woman. I'm a hypervigilant woman as well. I'm a traumatized woman as well. And sometimes that makes embracing the Grail type energy, that mystic feminine flow, it makes it a bit difficult sometimes, particularly if I see things as a midwife. Yeah, it would be my role to facilitate change. So when that isn't quite happening in a way I feel is more beneficial for everyone involved, yeah, I'm going to get on my high horse, of course I am, and I'm going to struggle then with embracing the beauty of whatever needs to unfold to do so with ease and grace in front of me. So being really aware of that this week, really aware of what you're offering, where it's coming from, and what's being offered to you as a result, and your ability to receive that wisdom. Oh, my screen's gone again. I do hope it will come back. If not, you may just see me in... That's really strange. I have to keep touching the light. Keep touching the light in order to stop the negative effect. Okay, so we'll see how we get on. Right, energies for this week. Yeah. 10 of Wands at the bottom of the pack. What I really felt there was to see how I get on, because that's a lot of messages anyway. See how this video goes, not take on more than is needed, because we're at the end of that journey. We're coming up for the end of the year. It's not about bringing everything back from the beginning of the year, but really looking at what we may still need to take, and still has a bit of a judgment with it, what we may want to take into next year, and being okay with that, what we may feel we haven't learned enough about, and take that into next year, but taking it into next year with some sacredness, some ease and some grace. Okay, so I'm learning these aspects again, and that's okay, and I'm just going to take them in, but I don't need the stories that have got me there, or I don't need that part of it. Just really lightening the load, but acknowledging there are some things that may not be clear until next year. There are some things that may not be clear until the next few weeks, but definitely until next year. And recognizing that the end destination, that need to get to the end destination, is what often leads to burnout. It makes it feel a bit too, oh, when I've got that, I'll be happy. When I've done this, I'll be happy. And it's, okay. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. It's a tiring week. Friday, my judgment, it's a relaxing week. Saturday. Sunday, there are 2 cards. overall. So looking at our judgments on this slower, more withdrawn, hibernated, feminine yin type energy, really looking at our judgments, because I felt like, which my body knows only ever comes when I'm tired. Or if I really had to take time out, which means I've done so because I've been tired. So looking at any judgments that we may have on the energy of that this week, and any changes that may be available to shift that. Again, it's that going back to, we don't have to be in a dire place before we just take some time. I was going to say it, I would say chill. Chill. How can I chill with this going on and that going on and da 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 da? Isn't it ironic that at the end of the year, when the rest of, particularly in the UK, I'm referring to UK, when the rest of the world around us releases, lets go, slows down, we tend to bring in more. You know, we've got celebrations coming, we've got this coming, that coming. Attune with your environment this week. Not the voice that tells you what you should be doing, including collectively. I cannot stress this enough. This is the energy overall for the week. And it is the 7. It's the endurance here. But, you know, the crows are known for their wisdom. So what wisdom are you going to carry forward? And what wisdom are you just going to leave in the background? Calling out to the next person upon that journey. Not everything is for you. Not everything is for us. Not every insight, not every message, not everything that you cannot save the world. One person, we are, you know, it's that whole one person isn't an island or whatever saying it is. There's energies out there to help, but not if we believe we're the only ones that can do it. That's that endurance. So 7 is a beautiful magical number. Yeah, energy centers, the 7 notes of the music. A really beautiful number, but it can also be it can also signify endurance. How we see that. Does it have to be as hard as we allow it to be, especially mentally, as we lead up to that full moon? Okay, so as we're leading into that full moon, we may find that our mind tries to cover up our emotions. It's that shadowing of the feminine. I'll do that later, or I'll ignore how I feel, and really looking at why. Ensuring that we feel safe enough to feel what we feel. On the Monday, taking time out, taking necessary time out, not having it need to be from a defensive perspective. It doesn't have to get to all guns a-blazing before we can step back and go, actually, I need some time out here. Okay, bringing in some really healthy structures. I don't know if you can see that because my camera is so blurry now. Pulling back. Yeah. So pulling back and then refocusing, bringing in some healthy structures that are going to help you do that, to avoid being defensive, to avoid being, oh my God, I've done this, this and this and I haven't had time and da da da. It doesn't have to be a war. There doesn't have to be conflict with your needs and the needs of others. It's about balance on the Monday. And utilising, conserving, becoming energy efficient. You know, it's getting so cold in our little home that we rent, and you know, the energy is not modern at all. The heating is not modern. Yeah, it's getting to that point. All of a sudden, I've longed for it. It's come all of a sudden, but all of a sudden the temperature has dropped. So the layers have come out. You know, get efficient. I'm really, really grateful for the extra weight that I've put on because I feel nice and warm. Just enjoying that hibernation period. Knowing that there's a time to act, there's a time to be, even with, you know, things like our diet, our health, recognizing that our body knows what it needs, acknowledging where those needs are coming from. You know, are we eating to escape our emotions? Are we, acknowledging where they're coming from, but also acknowledging that our body knows what it needs. Okay, and especially this time of year, being very aware of any, I'm going to say it, fad views towards healing, towards diets, towards finances, towards like salesy, gimmicky type things, because on the Tuesday we start to lead into our first major arcana, which is the devil. Now there's a place for them all because they help to really connect us back to our light. Okay, so again, in those times of when everything in front of us looks negative, like my screen, when it goes to that negative energy, to retouch the light. And it's an opportunity. Things that rise this week are an opportunity, an invitation, to really look at our light. The devil is the light bringer, but being aware of faddy type, salesy type, is it going to sustain you into the next year? That's what I will ask you. Is it going to sustain you into the next year? And being really aware of that on the Tuesday. Because on the Wednesday, we're being asked to look at what we are creating. We have the Empress card. Is it sustaining us? Is it going to sustain the earth as a whole? There's that yin type energy. How efficient is it? How efficient are we being? Are we carrying, a lot of to-dos that actually we could zone down to one ta-da? So, a lot of the things we're trying to create will have a lot of relevance to each other. And if we can step back, pause, be in that beautiful, nurturing, safe energy, we may just realize that this week. And what is that energy? Well, on the Thursday, it's the heart. It's that Ace of Cups. It's a new way of feeling into what we want, a new way of feeling into what we need, a new way of connecting and creating, being available there. And that is going to be necessary for the Friday with the Six of Swords. So we go from that 7 energy, that endurance energy, almost backwards on the Friday, but recognizing that it's kind of like a good backwards. It's back to something we've already done, back to something we've always known mentally, back to a harmony. 6 is harmony. So taking that wisdom of that overactive mind, of everything going on outside, and letting it steer us forward by leaving that one thing we no longer need behind, calling out to the next, I will say, next victim, next person. And what I'm seeing is, the old analogy of when relationships move forward, and you know that you've changed as a result of it, and that the next circumstance will be more positive, more balanced, more in harmony. Well, that could be relationships, that could be work, that could be our health. Learning with experience on the Friday is going to have such a huge impact on our mental ability to move forward. There is more to that, but on the Saturday it feels quite important that we allow that to integrate first. We have the 3 of Pentacles. We allow these things to come into play and really create something beautiful from that first. Aligning not only our masculine and our feminine, but our inner child. Saturday, that's what's going to come to light, the inner child. Divine timing, absolutely. Actions, being based intuitively when we feel to act. Wonderfully. So we've connected to source. We've connected our doing to our feeling. What about the inner child? The third aspect, that, that power of 3, that Empress type thing. What is it we are holding within us? That view of ourselves, of the world, of the future to come. Yes, we're going into Halloween. Yes, we're talking about ancestors. Let us not forget those to come. They too are our ancestors. One day we will be an ancestor. Really stepping into the responsibility of that by keeping an eye on our future, our children, but also our own inner child. We are a child of the universe, regardless what stage we're at, regardless what age, regardless how evolved we think we are. In the big scheme of things, we are still children. Even as a species, we are so very young. Having compassion for that realization with ourselves and with each other, but also recognizing that when we have the inner child, or what I call the inner wild, the Salka, the undomesticated version of ourselves on board, those intuitive actions become a lot more bloody fun. And that is divine timing. Source, masculine, feminine, fun, or being drawn to co-collaborate, being not a victim or of service or, I will serve, but being in service, being part of that. Acting because you want to act, because you are supported to act, because there was a real difference with the Monkey Sunday. There were those that didn't want to be seen and would turn their back. There were those that were like acting out because they were used to it. And there were those that were just I'm reminded of a picture of the gibbon, Alex, her name was, the gibbon with the one arm, who would just sit there and allow you to connect to her because she wanted to, because she had a medicine that she longed to share, and that was the power of adaptability despite being attacked by her own. The power of continuing beautifully in the most sacred way I've ever seen, despite being disowned, despite being harmed, abused, destroyed by her own. And that really feels important as we lead into the Saturday for the inner child, to allow that energy to come up and allow us to see our inner child beyond the traumatized child, beyond the work, we must work with our inner child, to the fun there, to the joy there, to the sacredness and divinity there. A lot of the times we see our inner child as needing our input and our care, and maybe by the Saturday turning the tables and recognising how much we have to learn from our inner child. As we grow, our mental judgments on how things should have been can cause a lot of damage to how they were, and really feeling into that on the Saturday is going to be key. Because we have, as a species, as individuals and collectively, become quite blind to what peace is, become quite stifled to the balance that is needed in how we see things and what we actually choose to do about that. We have become quite, we have that wisdom there. There's so much wisdom there, but we have become unable to see it within ourselves. There's 2 cards for the Sunday. Once we do that, there's a great opening of joy there. Treasure to be found by submerging into the very depths of our own emotions by the end of the week. Okay, so let's break it down and close it. We have 2 major arcanas, a wonderful balance here of the Devil and the Empress. And the Devil here is inviting us to really look at what we're creating for ourselves and for the earth. And you can go in, you can look at that in a deeper, however deep you want to go, but that's the that's the for want of a better word, a crutch of it all. Where is our root chakra at? How safe do we feel in what we're creating, and the very light needed to manifest something different now for ourselves and for the world? We then have 1, 2, I'm just going to take a moment to sort them out, which feels like key. Take a moment to really see what elements are at play here. We've got the Lovers right at the bottom of the pack. So that third, not the bottom of the pack, but underneath it all, that third energy trying to come in is the Lovers, but the Lovers is choice. And then we have the Sun. I'm not going to carry on, but we have the King of Wands under there. So choice to see the light, to open to the light, to be the bloody light in a situation. We say that we are light warriors, we are light workers, we are becoming enlightened, to really go into the darkness and find a deeper treasure of what light is for ourselves this week. Beyond our mental views, beyond this need to suppress our emotions, beyond the fear of our vulnerability, taking a step back, finding harmony within us so that we can actually take the veil off and look at what's going on in front of us. We talk about Halloween and it being a thinning of the veil. What actually thins is our ability to see. Gosh, I almost need to take my glasses off there, a really itchy eye. What actually thins is our ability to see other realms, other potentials, our ancestors, all of it. Really recognising that this week, because we have 3 sword cards, and the 3 of swords can be heartbreak. It can be that our hearts are being opened up to be able to actually physically see through them and not just these eyes. We then have 2 wand cards, the 7 of Wands and the 10 of Wands, if we want to avoid burnout, taking time out. Not in a defensive way, not in a, if I don't do this, It doesn't have to be that way, or maybe it does, whatever works for you, but recognising it's all about restoring balance, it's all about avoiding burnout, even not trying to figure everything out, not trying to heal everything or fix everything before the end of the year or the end of the month or the end of the week. I respect there are deadlines in life. But this week it feels really important to keep balance with what is actually a deadline and what is our fear, what is our judgment, what is our defensiveness against what may be rising as a result of that not being met. I experience OCD, obsessive thoughts and behaviours at times, and underneath it all, they always come in when I am feeling as if I'm out of control, which is coming from a place of being totally disconnected to my capabilities and not believing in myself. So this week, healthy practices to restore that connection into really believing in yourself. We then have one pentacle card. So the physical beginning is the Three of Pentacles. It's about collaborating mind, body, soul, masculine, feminine, child, as above, so below. What about within and without? Where does that stand? As above, so below. Oh yeah, if I wish it up there, it will happen down here. Remembering you're the bridge. As within, so without. And that becoming more, I wrote about this in the blog for the new moon, but that becoming more than a verse, more than a prayer, and a physical embodiment of the very medicine that we are here to create with others, that we are here to bring to the world. I really struggle with it. So I've had this wonderful feeling over the last 8 weeks or so of being really at peace. And there's parts of me that finds it boring. There's parts of me that think, I don't fit in. I want to jump in on this. I want to do it. As within, so without. What are you being asked for however long to bring to this situation? Do it to the best of your ability. Make sure that you want to do it. Make sure that you feel ready to do it. Make sure that you are going to give it your all. You will be matched by the energy that you put in. And that isn't you haven't done enough. Far from it. Maybe it's about doing less and being more. We then have 2 cup cards. So again, that beautiful balance. And it's the Ace of Cups and the 9 of Cups. And the treasure, the joy comes from opening our heart to all potentials. That's a choice. Seeing the light in a situation is a choice. I don't mean bypassing. I mean finding it, being it, searching for it, becoming it, whatever that takes to change whatever you're trying to shift. And finding a way to do that, and if you can't, finding the support to help you do that this week is going to be key. It's the Grail. I look at the Ace of Cups and it's the Grail. It's the Grail within us all, finding that holy container and vessel that we've always been. Okay, so we are nearly an hour, and I'm very aware that my computer will turn off after an hour. It will only record so much. So okay, 1 card for the whole week to end this. So the 4 of Swords and the Ace of Wands, but we're going to go with the 4 of Swords here. You want that new way of thinking for the Ace of Wands. Nurture that beautiful, precious heart of yours. Nurture that beautiful, precious light of yours. Take the time as needed rather than seeing it or having it have to be as a result of something awful, because it's the only way we kind of value ourselves enough to take that time out. Seeing self-care as the very building of the sanctuary that we need, as the very string that brings together all the healing of our heart, as the very essence of who we are. The nesting period. If we want change, anyone that has been in labour or around those in labour, you will have a nesting period. You will want to make sure that everything is ready. Please recognise that you're one of those aspects that needs to be ready, and give yourself some compassion with that. Take some time to ensure that you are. Have the most incredible week. Take care.